Hello, this is Thomas, K4SWL. If you're new here, I like to do real-time, real-life amateur radio field activation videos. Today, though, we're going to do a little hike and talk session. I like doing these when I get questions from readers and subscribers. And by readers, I mean at people over at qrpr.com and subscribers here on YouTube. Questions that I can't really answer in an email. Frankly, these days I really struggle to get through my email load. But I just don't have the time to really thoroughly cover topics in email sometimes. And so I like these hike and talk sessions as a way to kind of talk them out a little bit. If this isn't your sort of thing, I will not blame you for moving on to another video right now. But this is totally unscripted. There's no outline, no nothing. It's just me, my hiking stick, and the trail, and some random thoughts. So I'm sure that I'm going to forget stuff here. But the question this morning, someone wrote and asked me a version of, Thomas, what do you think about the future of amateur radio? Do you think it's going in a good direction? How do you think we can get younger people involved? And what do you think are some of the reasons maybe people aren't getting involved in amateur radio? And I was asked this question once by Eric Guth on the QSO Today podcast, which is, by the way, a fantastic podcast. If you haven't watched it or listened to it, it is phenomenal. Eric does these little 1-hour interviews with a wide variety of amateur radio operators, and he interviewed me probably 3 or 4 years ago. I really enjoyed it. And I think he always asks his guests this question. How do you think we can ensure a good future for amateur radio? And what do you think of the state of it today? And so I'll kind of talk about that now. I'll probably forget some things until after I've stopped the recording. But feel free to pipe in and add your comments. Everybody be kind, though. That is one of the things I'm a big believer in on YouTube, is just be kind and considerate with comments. Because I think we all have opinions. And usually a little kindness and diplomacy makes it easy for people to listen to your opinion. At least it does for me. That's the way I am. So, first of all, what do I think about the future of amateur radio? I think if you would have asked me this question, maybe as late as 2012 even, I would have said, I'm a little worried. It's aging out. There isn't a lot of energy and enthusiasm outside of the people who are just interested in the gear and the equipment and the technical side of things, and those into DXing and contesting and stuff. That's usually where I saw all the excitement. QRP also was an exciting space to be. But by and large, I didn't necessarily think that amateur radio was going in the right direction. Felt like CW was kind of, falling off to the side. People weren't really learning it as much. Some digital modes came in that make it very, very easy to get on the air. And that is a good thing, I think. I'm not one of those people that believes that that's all digital or all analog or SSB or CW or QRP or QRO. I don't think in that kind of all or nothing sort of way, black and white way. I think that this is a hobby and a pastime that opens the door to so much. So why in the world would you limit yourself? Just enjoy everything and appreciate what other people enjoy. I would say that today I'm actually really excited about the future of amateur radio. And I'm probably a little bit biased by this because I'm in what I think is the most dynamic segment right now of amateur radio, and that is field operating. I think a lot of us here in North America, Summits on the Air came out, I think, in 2002. just a year before I think I left the UK. I wish I'd have known about it then, because I do love Summits on the Air. It's a field activity, so it takes you outdoors onto summits, and you get to hike and go places, and it's just amazing. Here in North America, really, I think where a lot of people learned about field operating was during the National Parks on the Air event with the ARRL in 2016. For people like me and a lot of my friends who love playing radio in the field and who live for playing radio in the field, National Parks on the Air gave you a reason to hop out there. And there's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement and a big community behind it. And it was insanely fun. And at the end of 2016, I think those of us who really participated kind of walked out feeling like a hangover come January 1st, 2017. We were like, whoa, what in the world happened here? You know, we were this was such an amazing event. I think we were kind of hoping that someone would carry it on. Now, at the time, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant about this. There's another group out there all over the world who've been doing field activating for a long time called Worldwide Flora and Fauna. There are also things like islands on the air, lighthouses on the air, castles on the air, all kinds of things out there. But I would say that, like, in terms of getting people excited in North America, that really, National Parks on the Air really did kind of get a lot of people I know excited. Maybe it's a bit anecdotal, but it's kind of fun. Then when the Parks on the Air group formed, a lot of us started going out in the field again. And it has been amazing. And both POTA, WWFF, SOTA, all those programs, I think they're just one of the most dynamic parts of amateur radio. Radio can be kind of a sedentary thing, and I don't mean in terms of just physical activity. That is an aspect of it. Like, I'm out here hiking after I finished an activation. That's typically what I like doing. So I tend to go to parks where there are nice trails like this. I'm trying not to hike too quickly right now, so I'm not huffing and puffing too hard in this video, by the way. But it keeps me on the fitter side of things. I'm not a health nut. I'm not a fitness hound or anything. But really what I mean by sedentary is when you have a station at home, unless you really have the motivation to improve your antenna system, your transceiver system and all that, things can get rather sedentary and static. You know, you keep using the same antenna you've had. You kind of do the same things you've been doing. Now, some people are not that way. They're constantly experimenting. I've got a friend, that's all he does. He takes down antennas and puts up new antennas, tests them a little bit, and that's it. He's what my friends at the Ham Radio Workbench podcast like to call a propagation operator, a propagation ham. He's more interested in the technical aspects, building things and trying things, than he is actually making contacts. I think when you go to the field, especially if you're operating portable, it sort of forces you out of that static or sedentary mindset. And it makes you think about how you can deploy an antenna, what types of antennas you can use. It makes you experiment with antennas. It does me. And I love that aspect of it. It also shows you what you can do with what you have. And it teaches you to be adaptive and to be able to set up a station in a heartbeat. Golly, if you would have asked me to put up a QRP field station in 2014, and I'm a guy who likes to take radios to the field, mind you, it would have taken me a while to gather all the things together and really kind of have them organized and get to the field to make sure I have everything. Today, doing all these park activations and summit activations and things, I can set up in a whole station and it's ready to go in my backpack. Pull it out of my backpack and I can be on the air within 5 minutes if I really want to. And so that just, to me, it expands my horizons with amateur radio. And I do see parks on the air and field operating and summits on the air and all those other activities worldwide flora and fauna, all of these have a very positive impact on the world of amateur radio. No doubt, this is one of the reasons why CW is going through a renaissance. And I can't tell you, it just gives me so much joy to hear all the stories of people going out and playing CW in the field for the first time, or CW from home, just trying it. It just gives me so much pleasure. And we've got these groups out there like the Long Island CW Club who are just amazing. They're such an incredible community, and they have it's like 2,700 members now from all over the world. It just blows my mind. And I think it's just wonderful. And I can tell a difference between now and 2 years ago when I was playing Parks on the Air at the number of CW operators on the air. It has grown just tremendously, like exponentially. And so in that respect, I say amateur radio has a very bright future. I think this is a really good segment. And it's not an all or nothing thing. Like, you can do field stuff and still enjoy working contests and DXing in a shack or rag chewing or whatever. They're complementary to each other. So I think it's a really good thing. What do I think holds back the hobby? It's funny. I'll reference QSO Today again. Eric was interviewing my buddy Charlie over at Red Summit RF. He has a great YouTube channel. Awesome guy. Just an awesome, awesome guy. And he asked him this question, and Charlie said, the thing holding back amateur radio is negativity. And I just about yelled sitting there in my car seat. I just couldn't agree with him more. And that's what I feel. By negativity, I mean, on the air, there are people who are a bit trolly, kind of entitled people and people with bad chips on their shoulder, people just in a rotten mood, and they get on the air and they don't represent amateur radio very well. They talk politics, they talk about other people. Some of the conversations are downright they're just inappropriate. You're not supposed to do that in amateur radio, and I don't believe in it. I do not like it. Amateur radio is about sort of international friendship and communication and enjoyment of advancing, this technical hobby and our community. To me, it's an inclusive thing, not an exclusive thing. So you'll hear people go on about, this is the way that you should do amateur radio. You'll hear a talking head, some of them even on YouTube, that'll say, if you're going to do amateur radio, this is how you do it. And that's just not how you do it. You experiment, you try things. If you're interested in something, go for it. Don't let somebody else tell you not to do it. Negativity can also be like I've heard some very adult language on the air that I do not like hearing. And if you think about it, someone new to amateur radio, getting that license is a little bit of a rite of passage. It's something that you take on yourself. You don't need a license anymore to do international communications on the cheap. You can do that on the internet so much easier, so much more predictably. You do it because maybe you want to try something different. You want to experiment. You want to see what it's like with direct communications over the air. You want to hear somebody's voice in real time. No buffering, no nothing, no apps. There's no gatekeepers. And so you're going out of your way to do that, to join that community. And if the people you hear in the community on the air sound like a bunch of people you just don't want to be with, it can be very demotivating. And I've heard numerous shortwave radio listeners that have been put off by ham radio, just hearing ham radio conversations on the air, and it's really a shame. I can tell you, though, in the world of Parks on the Air and Summits on the Air, worldwide flora and fauna, all of these field activities, I don't know why, but tends to be a very friendly, welcoming group of people. And it just really gives me hope for the future of amateur radio, like I said. Because we need to cut the negativity and be welcoming. People have asked me how to get young people into amateur radio. And, you know, I can tell you what I've done. First of all, I've got 2 daughters. Both of them are now licensed. I made it kind of a challenge for them. They both accepted that challenge, and they both got licensed. One's a technician right now who's probably going to upgrade this summer. The other's a general right now. She upgraded almost immediately after she got her technician license. My wife's also an amateur radio operator. In a way, I guess you'd say they probably did this for me, but I think they did it too because they just like learning new things. I have also taught high school groups in a homeschool cooperative we belong to. And part of the science requirement is, of course, you do STEM projects and things. And amateur radio is very much in the realm of STEM, especially the way that I do it with, you know, it covers all the areas of science, math, engineering. So it's just a wonderful kind of technical topic. And so I decided that I would teach some amateur radio courses to get people licensed. I've taught a total of 3 courses. And to kind of give you an idea, the last course I taught, I think it was in the fall of 2019, I think. It was before the pandemic. I had a group of high school students, about 8, maybe 9, mostly female. I think there was 1 guy in the class. And I told them at the very beginning that what we were going to do was unlock the magic of all the wireless devices around them, that they're just there, they're invisible. And we're going to talk about how they work, why they work. And I promised them that at the end of the course, I promised them 2 things. Number 1, that it would change their view of how things work in the world. And number 2, they would have an amateur radio license. This is 1 term, 1 semester. So we started covering the technician exam. I'll never forget that one of the parents in that group, and I think I mentioned this once in my blog, one of the parents in the group, her daughter, really, really nice. She's really into art and fashion, had no interest in technical stuff at all. And I remember her mom kind of saying, you know, I think this is a waste of time for her. I'm going to be honest. But the way her schedule worked, she wanted her to go ahead and take the class because she needed like a science elective or something. And so I said, you know what? I'll make it painless for her. Don't worry. And turned out she became so enthusiastic about amateur radio and building things and soldering and testing things that year for Christmas, she asked her mom for an Arduino package to get started to learn to program an Arduino. And her mom just could not believe that was her daughter talking. Turned out she was very much kind of a closet, you know, geek, somebody who likes technical topics and figuring things out and engineering. And she just kind of blossomed into that, changed her whole career path. Now, I'm not taking all credit for that. I think really all it was I introduced a topic that she hadn't been exposed to before. She got her amateur radio license. In fact, almost everyone in that class got their license that year. There were a couple of exceptions, and those were exceptions were people that just didn't finish the class because they literally didn't finish the school year that particular year due to conflicts. But I think I licensed about 7 high school students, all female. And to me, that was how I was able to have an impact on young people getting in the hobby. Now, realistically speaking, are they going to become avid amateur radio operators? I don't know that they'll ever do that. But they know what it is, and they enjoy it. And I got them on the air doing single sideband and digital modes. I had them build their own antennas. I had them build lots of stuff. I had them soldering. And they loved it because it was hands-on. And I think that that's the key to get a younger generation in, is show them the hands-on side of amateur radio. And I don't know, I think that's wonderful. Now, on the flip side of it, one of my students, she actually won a little prize I sent out there. It was given to me by my buddy Fred Osterman at Universal Radio. When he heard that I was doing this class, he said, hey, I want to donate an HT and give it away to maybe the first person that gets their license. And one girl in the class got her license before the others by about a day or something. And it wasn't a competition. She didn't even know that there was going to be a prize. So when she got her license, I was so proud of her. And I handed her the HT, brand new. We sat down. We programmed it together, not with software, just using the instructions. And where she lived here in the mountains, there really was only one repeater she could hit. It tended to be the most prominent repeater. One of the best repeaters, I'd say, in Western North Carolina. In terms of its footprint, probably the best. And that week I listened to the radio to see what she would be hearing at home, because she said she was going to monitor it. And we made a contact on that repeater. And I have to say, just waiting to meet with her on the repeater, there were some guys on there talking, and it was, again, the negativity. The conversations they were having on the air did not belong on the air. They were not something, I'll just say, not something you would want a young lady to be listening to on the air. And it just broke my heart. I was furious because I knew she was hearing that. And later I talked to her about it, and she took it with a grain of salt. But again, that was where I felt firsthand that negativity, that pessimism, that self-centered kind of activity that's on the air that really puts people off. So, on the bright side of things, though, I gotta say that since then, I have been hearing so much more positive stuff. And again, a lot of that's because I work in the world of field operation. And I just feel like people who go outdoors and play radio outside, it's good for their soul. So they're good people. You know, the POTA network, WWFF, SOTA, it's like a huge family. It's like a family reunion every time I hop on the air. There are new people there that I meet. There are people that have been around for a while that I've worked many, many times over and over again. And it's just always something new and fun. And I love it. I like it both as an activator and as a chaser. You don't have to go out to the parks and summits to participate. You can chase, and that makes you you're an integral part of the whole system working when you're chasing. Without chasers and hunters, the program might even be there. Also, be very kind to those within the program that make it a reality. Our coordinators within Parks on the Air and Worldwide Flora and Fauna, who upload all of our logs. In the SOTA system, all the administrators and the people, the coordinators, all those people that keep track of things and keep it organized and running smoothly. We owe them a big debt of gratitude. They volunteer to make it a reality, and I'm most grateful for that. So that is sort of my take on the world of amateur radio. I just say, like I like to say, we should just all treat each other with kindness. It just makes the world a better place, and it makes our radio space a better place, a more welcoming place for more people. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have the people, we don't have the radio. None of these things will be possible or be around. No one will be supporting amateur radio if we're not inviting new people in and being welcoming to them. Plus, I've got to say, some of the newest operators I've met have been incredible. I've gotten to know them, some of the nicest people who are brand new to the hobby. And so that gives me hope for the future of amateur radio. Now, I think I've talked enough. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you think. If you thought of some good points, I'd love to know that. What you've done that has maybe made a difference, bringing new people into the hobby. Feel free to share those things. And as I say always, thank you so much, and for coming along for the hike this time. And until next time, 7 threes.